We have with us Booking.com's country manager Santosh Kumar. Santosh, welcome to PTI.
Thank you so much for having me, Rupashri.
Now, let me begin by asking you about the How India Travels report that Booking.com has just launched. Tell us more about it.
Yes, this is the second edition of the report. We came out with this report last year for the first time in 2023. The 2023 inaugural edition was an edition that focused on the overall travel landscape for India. And we looked at a decadal view going into 2030 in terms of how the travel industry was expected to grow, what are the key opportunities, etc., that lies ahead for India as a destination, right? And we are very thrilled by the response that that particular report got. We got some excellent feedback from the industry in general. And so therefore, we felt that that thought leadership was really required. We needed to continue to put out similar thought leadership. And so therefore this year we produced a report which is focusing on the inbound travel landscape into India specifically. So in this year's edition, we've laid the context for what the India inbound travel landscape looks like. We have also conducted a survey commissioned across 19 countries globally, where we have tried to understand what is it that travelers who are desirous of coming to India as a destination, what do they look for, right? What are their preferences? What are their likes and dislikes, etc. And then we've looked at some opportunities ahead, right? For us as a destination, what are some of the things we can do through public-private partnerships? What can India overall do to continue to market itself as a destination of global appeal, etc. So that's how we have laid out the report. And I'm very glad to say that we've got a lot of great industry experts who have also contributed to the report from across the industry. And we've included both our internal Booking.com data as well as we've looked at a lot of industry data, whatever is available in the public domain.
Now, I'd like you to deep dive into your expansion plans for India. What sort of growth model is Booking.com looking at?
Yeah. Rupashri, India for us is a priority country. When we look at our global expansion plans, because Booking.com traditionally has been, it started in Europe, and that's where, we've grown very significantly over the years. And as we are now looking to expand, in some of the other countries globally, US is a very big priority. And after the US, we have markets like India, Brazil, Japan, etc., which are very big priorities for us, right? When we look at how does Booking.com and also Booking Holdings, the parent company, in terms of the evolution of the company over the next 10, 20, 30 years. So therefore, India, and also for us, the India journey has been very unique. We've been here for a little over a decade. And, naturally, when we started, we were primarily an inbound player, right? That was also pre-pandemic. But now, post-pandemic, I'm very happy to say that actually our domestic business has also grown very significantly. Consumers are starting to like our brand more and more. In fact, in a recent survey that Newsweek put out, we were ranked as the number 2 brand when it comes to consumer love, right, in India, which was great to see. For us, it's a great validation of our efforts in terms of what we're doing for Indian consumers. So therefore, I would say that it's a very big priority. We continue to invest very heavily in this market. And we're really looking at India as a long-term strategic play.
Are you also looking at tie-ups with major hospitality players in India to scale up your presence here to onboard new premium properties?
We already have a lot of I wouldn't say even a lot. We have pretty much all the large premium properties already listed on our platform. I think the focus for us is what can we do to improve the partnerships there, right? What can we do to enhance the quality of experience that our partners have with us on our platform? How can we continue to drive more demand to them, right? Because overall, if you see today, when you talk about accommodation occupancy, it's at about 60%, right, for India. When you look at the same from an airline perspective, airlines are running at 85-90% occupancy levels, right? So only 10 seats on every aircraft are going unsold. So occupancy wise, airlines are already fairly healthy. Whereas when it comes to accommodation, 40 rooms out of those 100 rooms are still going unsold every day, right? So that's where, we come in, right? In terms of enabling the partner and giving them more demand, right? Helping them fill all of those rooms that are going unoccupied today. So therefore, we see tremendous opportunity still, in terms of helping make those relationships a lot stronger.
You look at both the India and Maldives markets very closely, apart from Sri Lanka and Indonesia. The last 1 year has seen the number of Indian tourists to Maldives drop by 50,000 according to estimates. As someone who tracks this sector very closely, do you see a revival of Indian tourists to Maldives in the near future with the recent improvement in bilateral ties?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think in general for us, the way we see it is travel is a force for good, right? And travel really is something that unifies people. And therefore for us, we believe that there should always be an even playing field across countries, right? Without barriers, without any geographical boundaries that limit people from traveling from one place to the other, right? And as a global platform, that has always been our aim, right? In that sense, I would say for us, as a platform, we have not necessarily been impacted by this particular issue as much. Our aim is to continue, whatever efforts we have in both markets, whether it is India or Maldives, we want to continue sustaining those efforts.
I'd like you to share the challenges unique to the Indian market and the policy changes needed for India to realize its full potential to grow as a global tourism hub.
Yeah, good question. I mean, I think nobody disputes the fact today that India is already a global tourism powerhouse, right? We have, you know, the great part is India has had a very insular kind of, positioning in the last few years, right? Even with the pandemic happening, even with all the geopolitical crises that are happening in different parts of the world, India has more or less been unaffected by a lot of that, right? You look at our stock markets, I mean, it's amazing, right? Every day there's a new high. Our GDP continues to grow. We are continuing to get foreign direct investment into the country. Our infrastructure is continually improving with all the policies and the investments that the current government has been making. So all of those indicators are very positive, right? That leads to the fact that there is still tremendous opportunity for us to grow, right? The overall travel and tourism pie. Today, we think, and we've talked about this in the report as well, travel and tourism as a contributor to the GDP is expected to double in the next few years, right? It already is a very significant part of our GDP. It will double in the years to come. And that will create multiple new jobs, right? It will create roughly about 58 million new jobs in the next, I would say, about 9 years or so, right? So that means there are a lot of opportunities for us to grow, right? So I would say two or three things, right? That should be areas of focus. One is to continue to increase connectivity within the country and also outside the country, right? Continuing to make it easier for Indian travelers to explore different parts of the country and for inbound travelers who want to come in and see maybe newer parts of the country that they have not seen before, right? That's number one. Second is, visas, right? Um, I think there is still opportunity to continue to simplify the visa application process, maybe look at visa waivers, e-visas, etc. Make it seamless, right? Again, for people who want to come in and see the country. And then the third piece is the marketing aspect, right? So marketing, both in terms of helping address some of the challenges we see on the ground, could be in terms of safety, security, could be in terms of last mile connectivity, customer experience, at a tourist attraction, etc. And also promoting India more to overseas destinations, right? So I would say those are the three aspects that probably need focus.
But what are the challenges you believe could impede India's growth as a global tourism destination, inhibit it from realizing its full potential?
I think some of the challenges are the same everywhere, right? When it comes to growth of destinations, when we look at, one is we are seeing more and more geopolitical crises that are happening in different parts of the world. So there's always a danger of some escalation somewhere, right? And then, when that happens, obviously travel gets impacted immediately, right? Nobody wants to go to a destination which is perceived as unsafe, right? So that's one thing. um, I think the second thing is, I would say, um, also in terms of the customer experience, right? Because it's very important today when we look at repeatability of a destination, right? If you travel today, for example, to Singapore or Paris or London or New York, you don't get bored of those destinations, right? You go there once, you want to go back there again. There is appeal in those destinations, right? So we've got to bring that appeal into Indian destinations also, right? You've got to, as an Indian tourist today, I love going to Goa, right? I might love going to Coorg, for example, on a very regular basis, right? So we've got to bring in that same repeatability also for international travelers who are coming in to see India, right? So I think those are some of the things that we need to keep in mind.
Also, do you believe there's scope for new flight routes to be introduced internationally, direct flight routes? You believe there's a lot of scope for that?
There has been an increase already in connectivity, I think, which is great to see, right? As a Indian traveler today, I can go direct flights now to multiple destinations in Southeast Asia, Central Asia. Europe has always been there. US as well. I think there are a few direct flights now, right? But you can never have enough of that, right? You can always, and we've seen that anytime there is a new direct flight introduced anywhere, it leads to an immediate spurt in traffic, right? So absolutely, I think connectivity wise, there can always be more, right? I can tell you even a couple of examples. One is Vietnam, and second is Indonesia. Vietnam, I think in the last 2 years, they've introduced many now direct flights, not just from the big Indian cities, but also from the second tier cities, right? And it's seen an explosion in terms of Indian travelers going to Vietnam, right? Same thing is happening in Indonesia. In the last few months, they introduced direct flights to both Jakarta and to Bali, and there's been an immediate increase, right? So data is telling us this, right? That you introduce direct connectivity and immediately travel goes up.
What sort of post COVID growth trajectory are you looking at? Because COVID was a major dampener for the travel and tourism industry.
I think, thankfully, it's a thing of the past. We can say that now. The travel industry came back in a very big way in the last 2 years, right? The growth levels that we have seen have been phenomenal all over the world. For us also as a platform, we had this tagline over the summer saying best summer ever, right? And we've had that 2 years in a row now, best summer ever, because every time we set a target, we exceed the target and it's better than the previous year. This year, we've seen a little bit of that normalization kick in, which is expected, right? You cannot continue to grow at 70-80% every year. But overall, when you see compared to 2019 levels, overall, the travel index globally is more than recovered, right, in many parts of the world, right, including in India. So I would say the trajectory still looks very, very positive, and there is no overall softening of demand that we are seeing as a platform.
I'd also like to ask you, since the advent of AI tools like ChatGPT, scammers have increasingly been targeting customers for their financial details, and sites like Booking.com are a major target for scammers. What sort of measures are you taking to safeguard the interest of users and to protect their data?
Yeah, this is a very important aspect. In general, you're absolutely right that in general, digital platforms have seen an increase, right, in threats related to cybersecurity. And e-commerce is one thing, but also in travel, we have seen this, right? we have undertaken a lot of measures because we believe that for both, we are a marketplace, right? So on one side we have travelers, and on the other side we have our suppliers, our partners. We want to make it a safe environment for both parties to transact with each other on our platform. So therefore, the measures that we are undertaking is protecting both sides. Um, and what we're doing essentially on the partner side is, because there has been an increasing, for example, phishing attacks, right, where people come in and they take over, let's say, the accommodations application software at the hotel, and then they pretend to interact through our platform as the hotel, right? We've done a lot of measures. For example, we have multi-factor authentication. We have whitelisting of URLs and websites when accommodation partners are interacting with travelers, right? So that somebody can't come in and share, for example, a UPI code, a wrong UPI code with a traveler, right? And pretending to be the hotel. So therefore, we put in a lot of such safeguards, and we continue to do it because, in my opinion, this is not something that will completely go away ever. But what can we do to get better at reducing the level of security incidents, right? And how can we continue to educate and make our partners better aware in this regard so that they can safeguard their own systems? What can we do to help travelers so that travelers are not, sometimes they're not duped into clicking on the wrong link or making a payment where they should not be making? So we do a lot of education and awareness as well on both sides. So one is making our systems itself stronger, and second is bringing more education and awareness.
So it's an evolving process.
Absolutely. It is never something that we can take our foot off the pedal, right? We continue to invest a lot of money into making sure that, fraud in general, cyber security in general is a very, very big focus.
Thank you so much for talking to us, Santosh. Pleasure having you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.